Communication and Information Systems, the GCIS, is hosting a webinar to mark Cybersecurity Month. The event will focus on promoting responsible use of online platforms and strengthening cybersecurity, bringing together public sector leaders, regulators, civil society, and law enforcement. The session will combine policy discussions with real-world insights from digital influencers and cyberbullying victims. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by Hendrik Bruin, head of SADC Security Consulting, Checkpoint Software Technologies. Hendrik, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Hi, Lulu. Good afternoon to you and your listeners. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Hendrik, let's begin with the importance of such a webinar being hosted by the GCIS.
Yeah, it is actually very significant. It's important for listeners to understand that cybersecurity is not just about data and information. There's the real possibility for real physical and personal financial damage which exists, that can be occurred due to cyber attacks. So it is very important for individuals to take cybersecurity very seriously. And by extension, also, if individuals take their cybersecurity seriously, by extension, they are also securing the organizations that they work for, as well as the platforms that they interact with. So talking about security and awareness, it is critical because awareness is really the starting point to address these type of cyber risks and cyber attacks. Understanding what threats exist, how attacks occur, and how cyber criminals are actually utilizing various techniques, tactics, and procedures to perpetrate these attacks. So, we have to start with awareness. And as South Africans, we are not strangers to crimes in the physical world. So, when we're driving late at night, some of us don't stop at red robots. Some of us do, but when you do, you have your head on a swivel. You're constantly looking to identify threats that might be approaching your car for purposes of hijacking, etc. And we need to start, as South Africans, we need to start to practice the same vigilance and awareness when it comes to our digital world and our interactions on the digital world.
Now, what have been some of the biggest cybersecurity threats that have hit the African continent and the world at large?
Yeah, brilliant question. So, artificial intelligence, that's the buzzword going around for the past couple of years, really. But it has really played its part when it comes to cyber attacks. So what we have seen is, firstly, that traditional attacks, have increased not only in volume, but also in sophistication. And this is primarily due to the fact that artificial intelligence has significantly reduced the barriers of entry to cybercrime and cyber attacks. A good example of that would be phishing emails, where in the past it was very easy to spot a phishing email because it would have been typically written in broken or very poor English, bad grammar, bad spelling, etc. And those were key telltale signs that this might be a phishing attack. But now, cyber criminals can very quickly generate very comprehensive emails utilizing tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. So that's the one area. Then we also see deepfakes playing their part, where they make use of popular personalities to create a video that would lure individuals to various sites for Bitcoin trading or any other type of activities. And those also lead to scams and other types of cyber attacks. And then also, we also in the past, in June, we also had an interview where we spoke about TikTok, where cyber criminals utilized AI to create victims, once again luring them into installing various malware on their devices, etc. So artificial intelligence is a big playing factor at this stage. We also see a lot of identity-related attacks. So these identity-related attacks typically happen when we find credentials, user credentials on places like the dark web. So hackers are really not even hacking anymore. They are actually logging in because they have the ability to purchase existing credentials on the dark web. And those credentials end up on the dark web due to attacks like phishing and info stealers, etc. So that is some of the other attack vectors that we see is related to identity. And then also we have seen quite a lot of activities related to the telecom sector. So we had a lot of organizations, telecom providers in South Africa, as well as Namibia, getting attacked over the last year. And what we see as the primary motivating factors behind that is the fact that these telecom organizations are really part of critical national infrastructure, that have a very important place within communication within the continent. And then also they sit on a large amount of personal information that these attackers are also after, because that's what they use for additional attacks like identity theft, where they would utilize the individual's personal identifiable information to open up potentially new lines of credit, etc. And that's also where individuals can suffer real financial loss due to cybercrime.
How can we protect ourselves in general?
So the most important thing is, as we spoke about earlier, is awareness. Understanding the threats that is out there in the digital world is very important. Once we understand those threats, how they work, and have an understanding for them, applying vigilance, ensuring that we apply those concepts that we have been taught during these awareness sessions, etc. And some of those concepts include, double-checking really everything. So when you are going to a website, make sure that the URL that you are going to is the correct one. Verify things like logos when you are interacting with these websites, web applications, etc. Make sure that it's the correct logos. And another mechanism that I often use is to make sure that I use well-known, trusted websites and utilize links on those websites to get to the website where I would like to go. So a good example that we found earlier this week is there's a lot of fake malicious sites getting created in preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And a lot of those websites looks very similar to FIFA's website. They all look very legitimate. And it's easy for users to fall to those type of phishing attacks. So know that you can go to an organization's website like FIFA, and from there only utilize the links that they advertise for ticket sales, etc. Then, multi-factor authentication, ensuring that when you do authentication to web applications, to your banking, etc., make use of multi-factor authentication. So something you have, something you know, and something you are. So you can not only rely on usernames and passwords, because that is not secure anymore.
Now, how important is Cybersecurity Month in terms of objectives of companies? And this is talking about different companies such as yourselves. And what do you want to obtain?
So I think it's very important for individuals, once again, to understand that they are really an extension to their employer's security. So if people are negligent with their own personal devices and their own identities and credentials, it might impact their employer or some of the other systems that they interact with. So a good example of that would be a lot of individuals make use of their personal devices to access corporate systems, etc. If those devices are not secured properly, that may lead to credential theft. And when attackers then have the opportunity to purchase those credentials on the dark web, by extension, as I mentioned, they have the ability to log into that individual's employer's corporate systems, etc. So it is important for individuals to understand that it's not only their own information, they are part of the bigger system. And then really at the heart of Checkpoint is cybersecurity. In fact, that's all we have been doing for the past 30 years. So ensuring that our customers and the African continent at large is protected from cyber attacks is really what gets us up in the morning, and that is our true objective behind this.
And just very quickly in wrapping up, when we look at earlier on, you mentioned TikTok, and some of the safety features generally can be called into question because once, say, an account is highlighted as being, whether it's a phishing account and so on, you still will find that account still on that platform. How does it then work? Do these apps generally nobody seems to care, or is it just is the onus on individuals' use?
Yeah, I think very much it should be on us. We cannot rely on other people to secure our own cyberspace, if you want to call it that. They do, the TikToks and the Facebooks, etc. They do what they can within regulations and policies, etc. But oftentimes, with the ability that AI gives us, it's very quick to create new content, to create new websites, to create new social media accounts, etc. So it is very difficult for these organizations to also actively monitor and proactively control when these new accounts are created, etc. So the onus, although they do take ownership, the onus is still very much on the individual to ensure their own safety.
Well, Hendrik, it was a pleasure chatting to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That's Hendrik the Brain, head of the SADC Security Consulting Checkpoint Software Technologies, joining us on the line. It is 12:56 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio.